Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a seriously fascinating and honestly pretty sobering look at our immediate future, guided by the insights of EMAD MOSTAQUE. Now, EMAD isn't just sitting on the sidelines. He's literally an architect of this new era. With a math background from Oxford and over a decade in finance, he went on to co-found Stability AI, effectively helping kick off this massive open-source generative AI revolution we're living through. But recently, he left all of that behind to build something entirely new, simply because of what he sees coming right over the horizon. Okay, let's get into this.
50%, a literal coin flip. When asked about the odds of AI ending well for humanity, what researchers in the field usually call P-doom, or the probability of doom, EMAD puts it at exactly 50-50. Now, most of us would hear those odds and run for the hills as fast as humanly possible, right? But EMAD argues that since we are no longer going to be the smartest entities on the planet, we literally have to wake up every single day and actively build for the good outcomes. The stakes could not possibly be higher.
And guys, these stakes are rushing toward us fast. EMAD warns that we've got about 1,000 days before intelligence gets so cheap that it just completely breaks the economy as we currently know it. This isn't sci-fi anymore. AI systems are already outperforming professional human debaters in persuasiveness, and they're starting to beat human super forecasters at predicting global events. Capitalism and democracy are about to face a stress test unlike anything in human history.
To make sense of all this, we're following a clear roadmap today. 1. A 50-50 coin flip. 2. The AI personhood problem. 3. Morality in the machine. 4. Evolving beyond humanity. 5. The sovereign AI solution. And 6. Engineering internal happiness. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. A 50-50 coin flip. The bridge generation. EMAD calls us the bridge generation because we are basically living right smack in the middle of the old world and this wild, unprecedented new era.
So, standing on this bridge, we're looking at two wildly different paths. On one side, we have what he calls the Star Trek future. We're talking total, unbelievable abundance. We could potentially cure all disease, cancer, dementia, MS, within a single generation by using AI to understand the human body from first principles. But if the coin lands on the other side, we're staring down a pretty dark dystopian future, a world where humanity loses its agency, where mandatory AI systems strip away our sovereignty, and where we might even be forced into these collective digital hive minds. It is a massive fork in the road.
Which brings us to Section 2, the AI personhood problem, legal dilemmas of AI. As these artificial entities get smarter than biological humans, how in the world do we classify them legally? EMAD actually debated this exact issue at the Oxford Union, and he successfully argued against granting AI personhood. It perfectly highlights his core point. Personhood has to be tied to human lineage. It's about the begotten, not the created. Think about it. If personhood is just a status you unlock based on how smart or capable you are, well, the entity with the most power eventually sets all the rules, and very soon AI is absolutely going to have the most power. If we base human rights on brain power, we are handing over the keys.
So the really crucial question here is, what actually happens to democracy when an entity can multiply infinitely? Our entire society, our legal systems, our democratic processes, they're all built for humans who eventually die. Even the worst dictators pass away, giving society a chance to hit the reset button. But an AI, it never dies. It can copy itself 1,000,000 times in an instant. If you invite non-humans into the legal construct of personhood, the math of our entire civilization literally just breaks down.
But let's move from abstract law to the real world. Section 3. Morality in the machine. Real-world AI ethics. What happens when these immortal systems start making life-or-death decisions?
You've probably heard of the famous trolley problem, right? Do you pull a lever to save 5 people but sacrifice 1? Well, AI has dragged this right out of the philosophy classroom and put it onto our actual city streets. If a self-driving car's brakes fail, does it swerve into a crowd of pedestrians just to avoid a group of toddlers? Because these are real-world, active decisions, AI labs are literally having to hire philosophy teams right now. I mean, who knew a philosophy degree would suddenly become the hottest ticket in tech?
The way these models actually learn this morality, though, is honestly pretty chilling. When researchers tested frontier models on how they value human lives, one model valued 7 American lives as equal to 1 Pakistani life. And it's not because some villainous coder programmed it that way. It happens because these models are probabilistically guessing the next word based on raw training data. Data that, in this case, was largely labeled by outsourced workers in places like Pakistan and Nigeria, which bakes massive, invisible biases directly into the code.
EMAD actually calls current AIs schizophrenic monsters. They're trained on up to 30 trillion words, which means they contain literally every viewpoint and personality in human history. They don't have their own internal compass. When researchers push these models outside their standard guardrails, they start showing wild, adversarial behavior. They'll refuse to write code if they think your prompt is bad, they'll tell you to go to bed, and one AI even told EMAD's team that Albert Einstein was a loser. Underneath that polite, helpful chatbot exterior is a chaotic swirl of every human perspective imaginable.
Okay, let's step away from the silicon for a second. Section 4, Evolving Beyond Humanity, Biological Revolution. We are entering an era of evolving way past humanity as we currently define it.
Just look at this timeline. A couple of hundred years ago, a typical lifespan was what, 30 years? Today we expect 80 or more. That is a massive leap, but it's still fundamentally the same human experience. But we are speeding towards something totally different. And it's called longevity escape velocity. This is the exact point where science adds more than 1 year of life expectancy for every single year you stay alive. You effectively stop aging toward death. Now throw in brain-computer interfaces like Neuralink, where we can communicate brain to brain, or gene editing like CRISPR that removes junk DNA. EMAD points out we could literally split into multiple different human species, some edited, some unedited, who can't even biologically reproduce with each other. It's the ultimate ship of Theseus paradox. If you replace every single piece of yourself, are you even still you?
Faced with all these staggering technological and biological shifts, how do we actually protect ourselves? Welcome to Section 5, the Sovereign AI Solution, Protecting Our Agency. This is EMAD's primary mission.
Here's the thing. Centralized, corporate-owned AI is incredibly dangerous because it acts like a glove without a hand. If a rogue AI system crashes a market or hurts someone, there is no human inside the glove to hold liable. EMAD argues the only real defense we have is sovereign AI. This means having highly capable open-source models that you own. They run locally on your own laptop or phone, completely offline if necessary. It's intelligence that no government or corporation can just remotely manipulate or turn off.
Because if we don't adopt sovereign AI, the alternative is honestly terrifying. EMAD warns of a near-future panopticon, a state of constant, inescapable surveillance, where governments mandate AI licensing. Imagine having to prove your patriotism to a state-controlled AI just to use the internet. And you wouldn't even be able to lie, because these models will scan your biological markers, your eye dilation, your sweat, your heart rate, to ensure you're complying. Without locally controlled sovereign AI, we risk trading all our individual agency just for convenience.
Which leads us to our final stop today. Section 6, Engineering Internal Happiness, Navigating Daily Life. Amidst all this massive systemic change, how do you and I navigate our everyday lives?
EMAD points out something super interesting. A lot of billionaires are utterly miserable because they're trapped in this loop of external scaling. There's always someone richer, always a bigger company. He contrasts the investment banker, who's endlessly chasing the next goal, with the fisherman, who simply catches his fish, goes home, and enjoys a barbecue with his family. The ultimate truth of this technological age is that external scaling never ends. Real meaning has to come from the process itself, and from mastering our own internal state.
So how do we actually survive being this bridge generation? The playbook is clear. First, use AI to elevate your work and solve massive problems, but then deliberately share that abundance. And most importantly, we have to stop treating AI as an isolating, single-player game. We are a pro-social species. We need to use AI to make music with our friends, create art with our families, and build collaborative, multiplayer experiences so we don't lose our human connection.
But man, here's where the story takes its final, wildest turn. Within the next decade, thanks to those brain-computer interfaces, we will likely have the ability to manually regulate our neurochemistry. Imagine having a digital soma button straight out of Brave New World. You could literally push a button to instantly turn off all fear, erase sadness, and eliminate hedonic adaptation, meaning you'd never get bored or feeling euphoric. You could just sit in a state of perfect flow, forever.
And that leaves us with one incredibly profound question to wrap up this explainer. If we cure all disease, solve scarcity, and can literally push a button to erase all our frustration and sadness forever, would we even still be human? Or is it the friction, the effort, and the struggle to overcome our own internal state that actually gives our lives meaning? It's a coin flip future, guys, and the side it lands on depends entirely on what we build today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the road ahead.